Hello, and welcome to this session on faculty and guided pathways. This is the first collaboration between Guided Pathways and the Center for Teaching Excellence at CCRI for fall 2021. Presenting today is Dr. Beth Anish, who's professor in the English department and is the pathway navigator for Arts and Humanities and Communication, Media, and Film academic career pathways. Beth is also a CTE board member and has been with CCRI teaching for 11 years. Prior to our college, she worked for several years in admissions, transfer, and advising at both community college and four-year state colleges.
And my co-presenter is Jess Wilkie, the Director of Guided Pathways at CCRI. Jess comes to CCRI from the SUNY Community College system, where she was a full-time English faculty member for more than a decade, and where she implemented Guided Pathways at Monroe Community College. And Jess is also a presenter nationally on Guided Pathways at various community colleges. And we're lucky to have her here at CCRI with us. So in today's presentation, we're going to be giving you first an overview of Guided Pathways. We're going to talk about how faculty are connected to the Guided Pathways pillars, and then give you some more information on what's coming up soon in Guided Pathways at the college.
First, a little bit about the history and origins of Guided Pathways. The research and ideas that became the Guided Pathways framework was first published in the book, Redesigning America's Community Colleges, a clearer path to student success. This was published in 2015, and the authors were researchers at the Community College Research Center of Teachers College at Columbia University. The primary thesis of the text is that to substantially increase student completion, community colleges must engage in fundamental redesign. Their research coined the term cafeteria model to describe the traditional design of community colleges as centers of exploration, open access, and complete freedom in decision-making regarding course and major selection. In theory, this sounds like a great model. However, the authors provide substantial evidence that this model works for very few students today, least of all students who are part of minoritized population groups. The authors delineate a set of research-based design principles and strategies to help colleges achieve this challenging goal, and lay out a path for community colleges working to achieve greater success for their students and for our nation as a whole. To operationalize the model, CCRC partnered with the American Association of Community Colleges in conducting two cohorts of the Pathways Institutes. The first cohort led 30 community colleges from around the country through a series of 6 institutes over 2 years that focused on the redesign suggested in Redesigning America's Community Colleges. After the initial cohorts, several states launched their own statewide initiatives to bring Guided Pathways to all community colleges in their state. Most states have several. The institutes focused on implementing reform elements around the 4 pillars of Guided Pathways. This is the model. This is Guided Pathways. This is really all that's prescribed. What became known as the Pathways Collaborative maintains and updates this model about every other year. As you can see here, this infographic gives guidance for planning to implement Guided Pathways reforms at the institutional level, guidance for implementation via the 4 pillars of Guided Pathways, and guidance on evaluating reform efforts. If you would like a color copy of this infographic, please reach out to your local pathway navigator and we'll get a laminated copy to you as soon as we can. So what does it mean to do Guided Pathways as an institution? It's perhaps easier to say first what it is not. Guided Pathways is not a monolith. It is not exactly the same at every college. It is not one set of things. It is not a big box program. In the K-12 world, there are often flashy, commercial, big box programs geared to improve some kind of skill set with students, especially for reading and math. Guided Pathways is not one of those programs. It's not something you take and kind of plop down onto an existing institution and make the institution fit into that. It's a set of ideas that you bring to a college. It's not an instruction manual. There's not a checklist of things that we do first, second, and third, and then we have guided pathways. It is not a way for college administration to eliminate programs or courses, though sometimes changes to programs and courses happen at the same time or because of data found during pathways implementation. And as I said previously, it's not the same at every institution. The design principles and the ways to look at your programs and courses are the same, but what comes out of that investigation and what comes out of that data is very different at every institution. So what does it mean to do guided pathways as an institution? Here's a quote from the AACC Pathways Collaborative, who were the first folks to put on the Guided Pathways Institutes. Here's what they say Guided Pathways is. The Pathways model is an integrated, institution-wide approach to student success based on intentionally designed, clear, coherent, and structured educational experiences informed by available evidence that guide each student effectively and efficiently from her or his point of entry through to attainment of high-quality post-secondary credentials and careers with value in the labor market. We're going to go through, in just a moment, the 4 pillars of guided pathways and see how that connects to all areas of college life for students.
We're also going to show you how faculty can be involved in all four pillars of guided pathways. In fact, you're likely already doing many of these things just by being who you are, faculty who want the best for our students. The first pillar of guided pathways is to clarify the paths. You can be involved in this work if your department has programs, degree and certificate programs within it. Become well-versed in program requirements, the entry requirements to get into your programs, the course requirements and sequences that students must follow, and be able to talk to students about these requirements. Every semester, you'll see opportunities to volunteer at orientation events, including Path Days. The Knights Connect New Student Orientation is happening in mid-January for the spring semester. Faculty can sit at tables with students by path and chat with them informally about their plans and our course offerings. Faculty can also participate this way at our Path Days events. Or you and your department can put together a more formal presentation of your programs to be shown at Path Days events. You could consider teaching a college success course, including our new first-year experience course.
And if any of your departments work with, let's say, P-TECH or any other dual enrollment groups, you can check with your chair about joining that group as well.
Many of us already go to great lengths to keep students moving toward their academic and career goals. We can do so more intentionally using the Guided Pathways framework. Starfish is an important tool to alert students of their progress. I've been using it in recent semesters and I'm pleased with how quickly students respond to feedback I give them this way, whether it's positive or more constructive. In class, we can also discuss how to take further steps in our fields. We're all experts in our areas of study, and we can share this with students. What are the career opportunities within those fields, and how did they get to them? We can create assignments that allow students to explore academic programs and career fields. We can encourage students to use degree works to stay on track with their programs and remind students of registration dates as those come up. Of course, we should encourage students to ask questions if they're unsure about next steps and to reach out to advising as well. As classroom faculty, we should use information gathered from student course evaluations and our own informal surveys to make sure students are learning in our courses. We can also be involved more broadly at the college in improving the student experience. Join committees within your department or in the college at large that are charged with course and program assessment. Stay current on labor needs in your field. You can work with Stacy Sullivan from Work-Based Learning on how to integrate work-based experiences into your courses. If you find a good way to do that in your field, share it with your department. We're all looking for new ways to ensure students are learning, and we can learn from one another.
Coming up through the next months and weeks and through the spring semester, we have several opportunities for faculty to engage in guided pathways work at the college. You can join an advisory board. Most departments that have programs and certificates already have advisory boards within their departments to facilitate growth and assessment with their programs, with their degrees and certificates. Many more departments, even if they don't have direct applied associate's degrees in their departments, will be forming advisory boards to review career connections and transfer connections with their programs and courses. Some point in the next year, we'll be working on milestone course identification, looking at where we can tell from data how successful they're going to be in their programs and giving support around those milestone courses. The college has joined with URI, RIC, and OPC as the Rhode Island Aspen team to complete a year-long transfer intensive with focusing on transfer within our state to our other colleges from CCRI. You can look for open forums and data collection opportunities within that team as well. We're always working on growing work-based learning at the college. And as Beth mentioned, you can reach out to Stacy Sullivan to talk about doing formal and informal work-based learning in your courses. And lastly, you can learn more about Path 1010. That's the new first-year experience course for general studies students. That just became a permanent course last month, and we'll be scaling up for all general studies students to be able to take that course in their first semester over the next year. And we'll be looking to recruit current full-time faculty across the college to teach that course as we grow.
We want to thank you for joining us for this presentation and encourage you to stay tuned for more professional development opportunities in collaboration between Guided Pathways and the Center for Teaching Excellence, and based on feedback we've received from faculty on what more you would like to know about Guided Pathways. So stay tuned in your emails for more opportunities, and we hope to see you soon.